No.
We're on, y'all.
We're live.
Looks like we're on.
Yes, we are.
Negative, say nothing further. Just take Gabby on the corner. That's a direct order. Do it now.
Do it down.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. We are Roll Call Black, White, and Blue for Better Relations. Today is Thursday, December the 19th, 2024. I'm here with a few of my friends here. I got D with us. I got Melba. I got Jamel, Derek, AC, Ty, Rich, JT, Jim, Mark, and CJ is on the phone. All right. So we're here today. I'm gonna have a moment of silence, and then I'm gonna read our disclaimer and ask that Melba would do our statement of purpose. All right, thank you so much for that, D. We're praying for all of our um, soldiers that were lost and even military, even family members. Today, roll call, Black, White, and Blue for Better Relations. Please note the comments and express concerns made by members of Roll Call, Black, White, and Blue for Better Relations here in Roll Call are the opinions of the individual and not offered or intended to be legal advice, recommendations, or suggestions for listeners and or observers. This panel may display graphic videos or photographs that are integral to and to spark discussion. These videos or photographs are not intended to offend any viewer or listener. A panel member will give notice to the audience as to its nature prior to displaying any graphic or sensitive video or photograph. Any graphic content displayed during the panel discussion has been obtained and shared from public social media platforms and not the property of Roll Call. The language used by the members of Roll Call and guests is spontaneous, it is uncensored, and not intended to offend anyone in our audience. That's our disclaimer. Melba?
Good afternoon. You guys know we are Roll Call Black, White, and Blue for Better Relations. We have four basic tenets. We are pro law enforcement. We are anti-racism. We believe in equitable policing. And most importantly, Black Lives Matter. Period.
All right. Okay. Thank you so much, Melba, for that. Listen, we're letting you know up front that we're here this week, but we will not be here next week. But we'll be here on January the 2nd. People are pretty much relaxing, taking it easy, doing their family time. And usually for New Year's, it's New Year's Eve that people are celebrating and having fun and using their bartesian or whatever else they're doing. And then and then on New Year's Day they're relaxing and taking it easy. So that the next week be the January 2nd, will be that Thursday. We'll be back on January the 2nd. All right. Also, we're praying for Cheech. He's not with us right now, but we're praying for Cheech. We're praying for JT. We're praying for you and your wife Orlando. We're praying for you, Ty. We're praying for your wife, Ursula, and her family, and your family. We're praying for your family. Derek, we're praying for your family, the loss of Derek's cousin. We lost a serious person in the person of Julius Pierce, who was one of the first black police officers for Freeport Police Department, or the first, and
The first. Yep.
the first, and did great work in Nassau County, not just Freeport, but in Nassau County, did great works, and that's Derek's cousin. And so we're praying for Derek and his family on the loss of Julius Pierce. Also today, we're celebrating a national holiday. Today is Sharon Stevenson's birthday, Jamel's wife. So we're celebrating Sharon on today. And also today is also Mike Matthews, Mark's brother's birthday. His birthday is today too, so we're celebrating Mike Matthews as well on today. All right, so I think I got my little stuff out the way. Um, who's this iPhone person? You better identify yourself, or you get ready to get kicked out of here. Uh,
Oh, Cheech.
oh, okay, all right, all right.
I'll change the Cheech. I got it.
I know that's right, boy. Don is quick.
I didn't realize my camera wasn't on.
Don
You
the
about to,
blade, boy.
you about to get the boot real fast.
He's about to get evicted.
As long as it's not Dave's boot.
Okay, well, listen, we have a show lined up. Dee and I did discuss a few things up front. One of the things that's been hot in the news is the shooting at the Madison school, at a Christian school. Man, was that Madison, Wisconsin?
Wisconsin.
Yes.
So do you want to set us up for that one first?
Okay. As we know, first of all, welcome everybody. As we know, there was a school shooting earlier this week in Madison, Wisconsin. First one that I know that it was a young lady involved, a young lady shooter.
Right.
I believe a teacher was killed, another student was killed, and there's a couple of other students in critical conditions. I think 4 other were injured. So I just wanted to, I got a video of the last details. So it might be good for us to watch.
All right, let's turn now to the aftermath of Monday's tragic school shooting in Madison, Wisconsin. Authorities say that determining the shooter's motive is now their top priority. Meantime, the Madison community continues to mourn the 2 victims who were killed and 6 others that were injured at Abundant Life Christian School. A crowd of several hundred people gathered for a vigil outside the Wisconsin state capitol yesterday. They were standing close together there in the cold as they listened to the singers. They were Schechter now, CBS News senior coordinating producer for the Crime and Public Safety Unit. Welcome, Anna. Thank you for being with us. I want to first talk about the court records unveiling new details about the 15-year-old girl who carried out this shooting, allegedly. What stands out to you here, and how can that help authorities in their investigation?
Well, it's a good question, Liz. We have obtained the divorce records from her parents that show a custody arrangement where she was moving back and forth every couple of days between parents, that she was enrolled in therapy. But I want to caution everyone to be careful about this because so many kids live in a sort of a arrangement like this between parents. But it is interesting that the parents married in 2011, a couple of years after she was born, then divorced in 2014. They remarried in 2017, and then filed for divorce in 2020. So much upheaval, a lot of moving around, particularly in this last custody proceeding. Just that back and forth. And then it was decided that she would primarily live with her father. So that's going to be an interesting thing for investigators to look at. They're obviously spending a lot of time with him, asking him a lot of questions, going through her electronics, his electronics, asking about guns in the home. This is the focus right now, what investigators are drilling down on, I am sure, Liz. And so that those court documents are revealing in that sense to give us a window into her life, but also who was caring for her, who was the primary adult in her life. And just remember for our viewers, she had just turned 15 last month on November 9th. So this is a very young girl. So interviewing the parents and other adults around her, that's key right now for investigators.
And I want to pivot to the United Healthcare CEO shooting. The suspect, Luigi Mangione, now indicted, charged with murder with an act of terrorism. He's said to expect from that.
Okay.
All right, let's
Let
start.
me just, I see the hands up. I know Cheech, Jim, and Jamal are the order. I just want to say my prayers out to the family of those who lost loved ones at the school, but also to that young girl's family. Because I don't know the story behind it, but that family is struggling as well. So let me go ahead with Cheech first, Jim, Cheech, Jim, Jamel.
Yeah, same
Melba,
thing.
and
My
Dee.
heart goes out to everyone involved, including her family. This does affect a lot of people, and it doesn't just end there. It's just, even the kids that were at the school that were, just had school and heard the shots. or even worse, saw the people who got injured, their teacher, their fellow classmates. That's going to stay with them forever. And that's what people don't realize, that this is something that's going to affect these other children for the rest of their lives. They didn't say it in the news, but I had read into some of the news on this incident, and apparently they said that she did have some white supremacy ideology, and they had found some stuff that she had in her home regarding that. That is unfortunate also. But enough is enough. What are we going to do? I mean, we see the amount of school shooters we have, and now you have a female, which is very rare. But now if that starts happening, it's just, I don't know. I don't know what to do or say anymore. I've been one from the get-go saying, that just like Jim, that sensible gun laws. I mean, the other side always says, hey, we don't want our guns taken away. Nobody's talking about taking your guns away. We're just talking about red flag laws. We're talking about sensible gun laws. There's no reason that a weapon should be so accessible to just anyone. Especially us being in law enforcement, knowing what we go through every year to be able to have a weapon. And yet the general public doesn't have to have any of those parameters. It's ridiculous. And I hate to see yet another school shooting, another tragedy, and all these politicians will come out and say our heart goes out and prayers and all this. That's not working. That's not working. We need to try something else, because that is not working.
Jeez.
That's my 2 cents.
That's more than 2 cents. That was almost 100 cents. But that was a lot, because we keep saying the same thing over and over again. I think they said that we had about 82, 83 school shootings this year or something like that.
I think it's more than that, Don.
More than that.
Yeah.
Oh, more than that?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna look it up again, but I thought I heard that being said. But let me go with Jim, Jamel, Melba, D, and Derek.
Cheech knew exactly where I would be going with this. 15-year-old access to guns. I mean, it's just, when is this country going to wake up and realize that gun control is necessary and stop the political fight? Right. It's not about a political fight over gun ownership, it's strictly access to guns. Who should have access to guns? What kind of guns are out there available? Putting that aside for a second, I did a study on school shootings for a presentation to my school board last year. And one of the things that was glaring in that study is that in almost every case, A, the shooter had some kind of connection to the school if they weren't a direct student, and B, there were all kinds of signs ahead of time that that particular student had issues that needed to be resolved. If you don't get some kind of plan in place that gets access to guns and a threat assessment plan for schools to identify and help students that are in these crises, this will never end. So it's not a matter of punishing the shooter. I mean, that's not going to do it. These shooters, 99% of them are suicidal. They're ready to die. So punishment isn't the answer. You need early intervention. And it can't be just the early intervention that schools do now. They really need something that's concrete, and they have to have the police involved. Police have access to red flag laws. They have access to courts, and a combination of a school threat assessment and a police intervention with them is what's needed in this country. Otherwise, this is just going to keep on happening.
Can't agree even more with you, Jim. Thank you for those comments. Kyle, did you raise your hand? You on mute?
I did, and so did Mark. I just wanted to
Oh,
say,
Mark too.
quickly respond to Jim, is that I think part of the problem with the school is that they're afraid of the consequence of acting when before something has happened and labeling a child or somehow harming a child and parents' response to that, whether they'll own up to it and accept the help or lash back at the school and there's a liability issue. Now they want to sue the school because the school is saying that their kid is doing things that could be dangerous and it's not true and just not. I mean, I've been in situations with parents who clearly need to get counseling for their children. And it's always, I shouldn't say surprising because I'm no longer surprised by it, but oftentimes the parents don't want it and or at least not willing to accept it from the sources that we are recommending. Maybe they privately get it and you hope that they do. You put the information out there and hope that they do. But a lot of times it's pushback and our response would be, well, it's not a permanent thing. It's not something that you're necessarily going to need on the long term, but certainly because of this particular event or trauma that the child has experienced, and in this case, experiencing, temporarily you need to get the child some help. So I just think that, Jim, I don't disagree with you. I think that there is a strong, strong need for exactly everything that you just said, but I envision that it doesn't happen more often. I think these teachers and profession and educators know who the risky kids are and who the trouble kids are, and they unless they not paying any attention at all should know be able to identify these children. But the answer is for the school is that they're very cautious, I think, maybe, or maybe they are being cautious because of those things that I stated.
Well, before I hand over to Mark real quick, I did look it up and it says 323
Yes,
mass
sir.
school shootings this year. Hold up, Jim. Let me get Mark and then come back to you because Mark had his hand up too.
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing. 323, according to the Milwaukee Journal Sentinel. Sentinel. Sorry about that, Sentinel. And CNN said the incidents left 38 people dead and at least 115 victims injured. That was according to CNN.
Jim, you were next on my list. Oh, I had you. Let me see.
Yeah, I just wanted to answer
Yeah,
Kyle.
you just went. Yeah, go ahead.
Kyle, you couldn't be more correct. Somebody that spent 13 years as a school board member, you're 100% correct. That's the problem. That schools they know there's always parental resistance to a lot of that stuff, but I think we're at the point now where legislation has to force the issue on them that they can't they won't have a choice, that they will have to there will be certain things that maybe family court could do to force the families into some kind of intervention. But it's got to get to that next degree because you're right. Schools are very resistant of admitting there's an issue, number one, and then trying to deal with it. You could find cases where some kid gets, God forbid, you get stabbed 2 blocks from the school, and you'll have schools say, well, it's not our concern. It didn't happen on school property. They're all into that. That's got to change. And it's got to change from the inside. And the only way to make it change is, let's be honest, it's got to legislate. You got to force the change.
Okay. Thank you, Jim. Jamel, I had you on hold for a while. Go ahead, man.
Yes, sir. Good afternoon, everyone. First, I just want to say that it's unfortunate that this incident happened. But one person I like to give kudos to is the Madison Police Chief, Sean Barnes. That man was calm. He was composed when he was disseminating information to the community to reduce anxiety, to let the parents know what exactly was going on. He had up to the minute information to disperse to the media, so that they had a fluid, ongoing knowledge of what was happening in that area. So I really commend his professionalism as a law enforcement officer, and how him and his department handled that situation on Monday. Second, just to piggyback on a little bit on what Cheech was saying about how traumatizing that incident was. I mean, it was just so overwhelming for the Abundant Life Christian School. For the students there. Just think about the 9/11 call regarding that incident came from a second grader. That was the initial call to 911, was from a second grader. Now, you talking about the traumatizing effect that those students going to have for the rest of their lives, as well as the parents and the community. I mean, it's just going to be so overwhelming that these type of traumatizing incidents. It's gotten to the point where some of us, we become almost numb and kind of like expect these things to happen in this society, when it just shouldn't be. So of course, like we've all been preaching, common sense gun laws is what's definitely necessary. So I only hope that that the legislation would do something to mediate these type of incidents that are happening. I mean, it's just so unfortunate. And now again, a 15-year old who is the culprit in this incident is just mind boggling. That and it's unfortunate that she may be coming from a dysfunctional home, a home that's been upside down. But listen, 15 years old, it's just hard for me to give a pass to someone like that, because they had maybe some type of upheaval in their home life. I mean, listen, we know a lot of families that have maybe a single mom, a single dad, an alcoholic mom, whatever the case may be, but their children are still upstanding. They're pulling it together. They're holding it down. It's just unfortunate that this girl, who was the person that had the firearm that did the shooting, whatever, is still being investigated. But I just feel that we got to do better in this country, y'all. We got to stop this. Thanks, guys.
Before I turn it over, Richard Bowden says it's not the guns. I'm saying this so we can address this while you're speaking. It's not the guns, it's the person. I remember seeing kids at my high school with gun racks in their pickups. They had 30-30s and hunting rifles on the racks. Nobody got shot. I know Jim going to address that in a second, but Donald Coleman says, I agree with you, Jamal. The chief was sharp and on point. Marcus says, and I was going to say this as well, Jamal, that they corrected that info, Jamal. It was a second grade teacher, not the second grader. That
Oh, thank you. Okay.
Yeah. And she could have been a victim. Let me go with what I have next. Melba, D, and Derek, and then I got Rich and JT. Oh, and Ty.
Okay, I just wanted to echo the sentiments of my fellow panelists. That my heart goes out for those families that are suffering from this tragedy, including that young girl. And people can think what they want to think, but I'm gonna go by the condition of the house that they showed and the blinds in that window. That girl has probably seen some things. It's been my experience when you pull up to a house and outside, and from the outside, the windows look like that. What's going on is horrific on a daily basis for that baby. I think
And
that
Melba's not guessing. Melba's talking from experience, y'all. So just want you. I don't want you
I'm
to think she
speaking
just
from experience. Yeah.
right.
It's not me guessing.
Right.
This has been my experience. I think that at this point, we need to stop just merely thinking about common sense gun laws. I think we need to think about changing the overall culture. The culture of my country, my guns, because all we're doing is killing each other and we're making gun manufacturers very wealthy. But at the problem is that our children, school age, are suffering. I have a 7-year-old and even my 15-year-old, they have grown up in the culture of having to protect themselves from school shooters. And I will say there's a little PTSD there because on their daily school day, they have to think about, is today going to be the day that somebody walks in with a weapon they're not supposed to have? And am I going to get hurt, or one of my friends going to get hurt, or my favorite teacher going to get hurt or killed? Um, because we have stepped into the realm of not if, but when. And I also thought it very ironic that at the end of that clip, right, they pivoted towards this CEO who was murdered. It was a targeted murder. He was planned down a murder. They're trying to go after him. They're trying to throw the book and everything they possibly can stick on this man who planned this murder for this CEO. Um, and they're going so hard on this one individual, but our Congress and our country seems uninterested in changing the culture that would protect our children. And I have a problem with that. And it seems like I know that there has been buzz around people don't, how callous people seem about the death of this CEO, because his policies may or may not inadvertently cause the deaths to millions and thousands of people who were denied health care coverage. But people are more, but I do have a problem with people more interested in retaining a gun than they are in maintaining their health care and the health care of their loved ones or protecting our children. So I think it's something that as a country, we need to seriously sit down and look at ourselves and examine, what are we fighting for? What rights seem to be more important? That you have a gun so you can hurt somebody else, or that we truly adopt a policies that protect one another from harm? Because America, we are the greatest threat to ourselves. It is not Mexico. It is not China. It is not Russia. Americans are the ones that are killing more Americans than anyone else. That's my, that's just my take.
Heavy, Melba. Heavy, heavy. Okay, Mark.
Yeah, I just wanted to have Melba explain her experience. It was from where she worked in the police department.
So I work, well, you know what? I would say yes, I was a juvenile detective. But even from the first day of being on patrol, we come across many homes that maybe I think it seems it's not enough to say that they're disadvantaged, because we're not just talking about people that are impoverished, because I've been in homes where people did not necessarily have access to a lot of financial wealth. However, their homes were neat and tidy and the children were cared for. What we're talking about, as far as poverty, these homes are impoverished as far as the moral code, as far as how they educate their children to be socialized with other people, the toxic behaviors that occur within those households, the yelling, the screaming. What causes the blinds to be torn up like that? You know, um, in a few cases, maybe you got a big dog that jumps up on the furniture, but most of the time it's the people inside that house throwing things, tearing things up, you know, just beating the crap out of each other. And so, pretty much if you pull up to a house and the windows are disheveled and the blinds are broken like that, 9 times out of 10, you're going to walk into that house that is filthy and unkept. The children are filthy and unkept, and the behaviors in that home are somewhat suspect. And all the time, and not all the times are we able to call CPS on these homes because it's not quite at that level. But you know that there's a level of neglect that's in that home. And that's just from my experience.
Say it. I agree with you 100%, Mel, because you can call it profile and call it whatever you want to call it. When we approach a situation, we make an assessment before we get up in there.
Mm-hmm.
And the assessment is based on experiences already. So I know exactly what you're talking about. AC made a good point. I just want to say it so those online can hear it as well. AC said in the 80s, they said it wasn't the teens doing the DWI that was a problem. It was alcohol. So the government changed the regulations on alcohol. AC, boy, did you hit that thing? You hit that thing right on the head, boy. You hit that right on the head. They didn't come out the team that came out, they changed the regulations for alcohol. Same thing that especially Jim been hollering this from the rooftop. Change the regulations with gun control. That's all. Not get rid of the guns, just change the regulations. Let me go with D, Derek, Rich, JT, and Ty.
All right, really, really quick. I was thinking about this. My heart goes out to everybody out there in Wisconsin going through this. But I was thinking about when I was in these grades in school. The most we had to worry about was a fire drill, and now our kids are going through active shooter drills. And as Melba talked about the trauma, I know we had some discrepancy of whether it was a second grade teacher or a 7-year-old. The 7-year-old made that. I saw the call. The 7-year-old actually made the call from the school. I wanted to be clear. I saw that on Monday. We talked earlier. I know Don talked about how many shootings, and it was north of 300. Let me give you a little background of the school shootings. Before Columbine, there were only 17. My understanding is. Now this girl and all these other shooters are. They're aggrandizing the Columbine kids. Now, I only say that because this little girl was a competitive shooter. Somebody's asleep at the wheel. If my kid is idolizing a Columbine shooter and she's at the range shooting competitively, I don't know. Am I losing something here? Something should click to somebody. That maybe we need to look into this. Maybe she can't have access to the guns. The last thing I wanted to say was, Jim, you're absolutely right on the laws, Melba with the culture. But let me say this. You mess with these people's guns, they don't even hear you. They do not even hear you. Once you say, do anything with guns, it's almost like somebody turned the sound down with anything after that. And I'm only saying that because we have to recognize that if we're going to change that. We're so stuck into this Second Amendment deal, and we got to have our guns, and we got to have our guns. That when you say guns anywhere, it becomes, well, we got to figure out how to take care of the child's family. Let's figure out how to change the bullets. Let's figure out how to have guns not shoot so many. It's ridiculous. So we got to understand that, and also y'all know the money's in the medicine, right? They ain't worried about these guns. The money is in the medicine. Don't ever forget that. They're only going to go so far with the legislation because once you start messing with the fix, the medicine, the aftercare, it's going to be a problem. That's it.
Derek?
Yes. So one thing that was different about this shooting, obviously, the first difference is it was a young lady instead of a young man. But the other thing is she used a handgun. So most of the people that have been talking about a legislative change have been discussing the elimination of people to gain access to high volume, right, weapons of mass destruction, high volume firearms. She did it with a handgun, and that's very unusual. And it would be very, very hard to take handguns out of people's homes, which is really unfortunate. Um, Another thing that's interesting, and someone said that she kind of idolized the Columbine killer. In August, her dad posted a picture of her on Facebook at the gun range, and she was wearing a T-shirt with the band KMFDM on it. And the Columbine shooters, they cited the lyrics from a song from that band before they did the shooting at Columbine. And another shooting at Iowa's Perry High School, right before the shooter did the shooting, he put out a TikTok video with this band's lyrics on it as well. So, I kind of feel like that's something a parent should kind of recognize. And it's going to be a multitude of things that have to happen for this to get straightened out. It's going to be parents are going to have to recognize if their children are depressed. They're going to have to recognize if their children are a little different than other children, and we can recognize it, and they're going to have to act on it. But then we need sensible gun control as well. And she was also in touch with a 20-year-old young man who had planned to take down a government building with explosives. So I think they're currently looking for this gentleman. He hasn't been found yet, to my knowledge, but they're currently looking for him. And Melba did mention also that these young kids these days, they're going to have PTSD if they don't have it already. And that's just, it's the nature of the beast. Kids go to school and they're literally in a war zone. And it's unfortunate.
And I just
Yes, go ahead,
interject
Melba.
for a minute because
Mhm.
you know what? I went to high school. We had a high school rifle club. And I think that there's something different about the instruction that these kids are getting, or lack of instruction that these kids are getting when they have access to weapons. Um, and the Second Amendment for gun ownership is not the only amendment in our Constitution. And y'all are going to let this man that y'all reelected come around and play in our faces and talk about changing the Constitution so that there's no such thing as a natural born American citizen anymore if its parents are immigrants. You don't get to pick and choose which parts of the Constitution bear more weight than the others and that you're going to allow him to play around with. And D, you just darn, I just missed it, Derek. You just said it and I lost it in thinking about it. But it's the PTSD that our children are suffering, they won't do anything about it, and it's real. It's real. And I think the difference between, Marcus Diggs said, oh, we had air raids when we were in school. You know what? My generation, we had air raid drills, but we never had an air raid. We never experienced one. And every single day, there's a school shooting somewhere in this country. And I think that is the difference.
Wow. Listen, someone can check this out as well. I'm just going to read it out. Renee Henderson says TMZ just reported that a California man is being detained, stating he coordinated the shooting.
Okay, maybe that's him then. Alex Pattendorf is his name. Alex
Okay.
Pattendorf. Yeah.
All right. I didn't see it yet, but Rich, JT, you lined up. Ty, you behind him, and Cheech just trying to say something.
I just want to say something real quick that Melba just said about a shooting every day. It's so true. It's just that we don't hear about it unless there's multiple people involved. But we had a shooting in my district, a school that I go to all the time this week. One child was shot. It happened just outside the school, but that it goes to show, and it's not all over the news because it was just one victim. He didn't die, thank God. But
Psych Middle School. Which one was that, Cheech?
No, it was at Reynolds High School.
Okay.
R.J. Reynolds High School, which R.J. Reynolds is a very good school.
Prominent name in this area, and a very, very good, highly ranked school in Gilbert County.
Yep.
That county. Yeah.
Yep. I just wanted to say that.
Thank you. Rich.
Yes, good afternoon. It's another sad event that we keep seeing over and over again. And there's no gun control legislature going through. So all we left was thoughts and prayers because we still need to do that. We still need to care for people and pray for them. So, I know it's not handling the problem, but it does help. But the other side of the coin is if we can't get the gun laws to work for us and protect the kids, like I said before, we got to harden the facilities. That's something that we can do. Okay. So that means if you're a small school and you've got, uh, 40, 50, 60 students, I believe this school only had, was it 40? I don't know the amount of kids going to that school. It's a Christian school. But anyway, that size school could actually have a magnetometer set up and have all the kids go to the magnetometer for metal to check for weapons to get them into school and make the school safer. So I think all these smaller schools need to get a magnetometer and use it because you can get the kids through. You can get 40, 50 kids through in a small amount of time. It won't take up that much time to do. Also, the facilities need to be hardened. You need to have double enclosures, secure doors. The access need to be checked by security. That's what we need to start doing. If we can do them in those communities, have that done. It's because the gun laws aren't coming. And obviously some of these parents aren't, protecting the weapons from the kids. They're gaining access. So I think the schools need to take time and put money into hardening the schools because that's working. There's a school in my community now, a high school that notoriously had problems with kids and weapons and stuff. They remodeled it, and there's a double enclosure. The kids are safe. They haven't had any problems since. So I think that might be a focal point we need to focus in on and start doing that, hardening these schools. So there's the access of killers getting in, like the other shooting, they came through a window. If you have it secure, then we're cutting down the people, the kids that are coming in with guns, or people that want to do harm to the kids. Kids are protected. So I think we start putting money in that aspect, we're going to save some lives. That's my take. Thanks.
Renee Henderson said, faith, she went biblical on you. She said, faith without works is dead. Not only pray, do something. So I'm with you, Renee, and I did read one of our statements. Jim said he did a study on metal detectors. As a school safety program, it doesn't work. And we know we had them at Hempstead High School, Ty. Remember we had them at Hempstead High School?
Yeah, but how many guns came in at school, Donald?
They got up in there.
Crazy, right?
So
Crazy, right?
I understand the thought, but I also understand the reality that if I want one in the school, I'll get one in there.
The middle school have them too, Don.
If I may,
but you don't make it easy.
Yeah,
they are a parent psychological deterrent. If a kid wants to get a gun in school, they're getting a gun in school.
It's gonna be in school.
Exactly.
So I'm not against them as Rich just said. Anything is better than nothing. I'm okay with that. But I don't like anybody thinking that that's going to be a saving grace to keep guns out of school, because it's not.
No, listen.
Honestly, I thought
wait a minute. Hold
up.
I still have my thought. Who was it? Was that us, Derek? You and I went to a concert or something like that. We walked in.
We went to a Broadway play this summer, and I got in with my gun. Right.
Yeah. So listen. There's a metal detector right there, and I said, Derek, you have to go to the precinct. Get rid of this thing. Go tell a story, Derek. Please tell a story.
So I get up to the metal detector. I let the guy know. I say, I'm a retired officer. I now live in another state. I wasn't going to leave my gun in the hotel. I had to bring it with me. He says, well, there's a satellite precinct a couple of blocks away. You can take it there. So I get to the steps of the satellite precinct, and Donald calls me. Donald's like, you can get in with that thing here. And I don't know whether he thought they turned the metal detectors off or not. But I said, okay. I turned around and came back. And by the time I got back, they had turned the metal detector back on. But I had my gun. I had a 380 in my pocket. And I walked through the metal detector, and it rings. But I had my keys in my hand. And I held up my keys, and the guy was like, okay, go ahead. So, so during the intermission, I went out to go to the restroom, and you have to come back in through a metal detector. I came back in through the metal detector. It didn't even ring that time. Like, and they
So
were
was your
standing there manning it. But I'm like, how many other people are in here with firearms if I'm in here with one? And I shouldn't be. But,
yeah, it was your keys all the time.
right.
You always have to remember one thing about school shootings when it comes to any kind of target hardening. These shooters are suicidal in the most cases. They're not worried about being detected. They go right through that metal detector with their guns out. You know,
Right.
they're in there to do harm and then to kill themselves. So, you know, I go back to my original statement. You need to have some kind of assessment on these kids before it gets to that point. That's the only way this is going to stop.
D, take over for me if you mind.
I
Wait a
got you.
minute. JT is up.
Yeah, go ahead, JT.
Yeah, good
I-
evening, everybody. I know I'm gonna make some enemies, but I got a gun. So, Jim, you right on with controlling guns, but I'm gonna give you a few minutes to think about it. How do you control the guns that's already out there in the trunk of somebody's car on Terrace Avenue, down in Brooklyn somewhere? Those are guns we got to worry about. The ones people already got, they're out there. People are not going to give up their guns. Not with everybody shooting everybody, doing drive-bys, going to concerts, shooting up people. They're not going to give up their guns that easy. And
Just to answer that real quick, I'm not asking them to give them up. Control isn't surrender. You don't have
I
to give
know
them
what
up.
you're saying, control. How are you going to control guns?
But if you made a law that every gun, and I'll just throw this out there. If you made a law that every gun needs to be licensed. Every gun needs to be licensed. And you have a gun, and you can get a license for that gun. So there is a record of it, who you are, what you own. That's a form of control.
Who's going to turn in their guns if they got
Well, let me ask you this.
34
Are you
felonies?
talking about illegal guns?
I'm talking about guns. How many
No,
guns?
there's a big difference because
How many guns out there illegal?
a legal gun owner should have no problem making his gun legal, going whatever the law is.
And knowing it's mine.
Illegal guns, I don't have an answer for you with that.
Exactly.
You know, illegal guns, you get arrested, you go to prison for having an illegal gun. Gun control may not help the illegal gun. These kids used legal
guns, exactly,
to kill all these students. Legal guns.
Who should be responsible? The kid or the mother or the father?
Oh, I'm okay with the parents and the kids.
Parents going to jail, exactly.
It's just creating another problem. Now you got a kid without parents at the house. It's just
Well,
much something else. It does.
JT, you got a family without a child.
Say what?
You have a family that doesn't have a child because their child was a victim of school violence.
Yeah, I understand that. But I just don't see how you're gonna control guns that's already in illegal people's hands.
I know. And And by the way, JT, there's no guns in Brooklyn.
There's no guns in Brooklyn? Oh, that's right. I took the last one.
Jerry, what you got, Jerry? I saw your hand up, Jerry. You know you don't want none. Okay, Cheech, go ahead.
No, I'm not finished. Don't ever do
My
that
bad.
again. Don't ever do that again.
They call me Mr. Tibbs.
Jim, you're against punishment. You said you were against punishment. But you did say parents should be punished.
Yeah, there's already 2 cases that it happened.
Yeah.
If the kid got the parent's gun and committed a crime with the gun, in 2 cases, I forget the states now, the parents were arrested, charged, and convicted and sentenced.
The first one was in Michigan. First one was in Michigan.
I'm not against that.
Oh, okay. My mistake.
That may be the gun control right there.
Exactly.
You may need to do another thing.
Exactly.
Yeah, because I tell you what, JT, I know you're not dumb, but I tell you what, if I'm going to jail for something that my kids doing, I'm going to stop my kids from doing it. I'm telling you that right
Exactly.
now.
All day, every day.
Or if the kid is 16, 17 of age, and he only got one parent, you put him in jail. I don't think his best friend, Bubba, or Booby, or whatever, will go in there and try to be shooting somebody. But Kyle, you had mentioned intervention. Most people can't. Didn't you mention intervention? Who? Oh, Melba. I'm sorry.
Is she pointing to
All y'all look alike. Melba, you mentioned intervention. Somebody mentioned intervention. Parents can't afford intervention. They can't afford lawyers to get the kids out of jail. And if they could afford it, how they gonna get the kid there?
Well, I was talking about intervention that was free of charge.
Yes.
There are a lot of nonprofits out there and ways to get children who need counseling treatment that are not costly to the parents.
Right.
Oh, okay, my bad. Hey, I make a mistake, I admit it. Okay. That's just about it. But I'll be
All
back.
right, we're going with JT. We know we're going to give you your time because it takes you a long time to wind up. You know, so we're going.
Did you notice? Did you notice? I'm sure somebody noticed. I didn't use one curse word.
I'm gonna hold you. I'm gonna hold your spot too. Whenever I see your hand go up, I'm holding your spot. That's why I got my pen and pad right here. I'm writing stuff down. I got right now. I have
Ty.
Yeah. So hey guys, so Derek and Melba said what I wanted to say pretty much, but I wanted to make sure you guys know what's going on here. We had 300 and some odd shootings. There's only 365 days in a year. Somebody said it. Almost every, I think Donald said it. Chief said it. Almost every day this year, somebody got shot in the school, man. If that's if that doesn't prove what Melba and Jim have been saying forever about gun laws and what needs to be done. I don't know what to say. I don't know what to tell anybody.
It doesn't matter.
It's unbelievable.
Let me ask a question, since most everyone on here is a licensed gun owner. Would you mind any control over gun laws?
Yes.
I mean, you said you would have a problem with gun control laws, Jamel?
Oh no. I said
okay. That's my question. I wouldn't have a problem with that.
I would welcome it.
Right.
Our guns are regulated. Our guns are regulated. Our guns are regulated.
Yeah, they are. Yeah.
Well, they are.
No, this
highly
regulated.
Doesn't matter to me,
we
man.
have to get gun
I'll do.
licenses, and we have to qualify for this and that. We are regulated.
Not everyone doesn't. Okay, I'm just like, how about the ones that live in a state where there is no regulation for the most part?
I'm talking to the panel here.
Well, aren't y'all in some Georgia? Are there any regulations over there with guns?
No
If
regulation.
you're breathing, you can get a gun in Georgia.
The 218.
The squirrels have guns in Georgia.
Melba got one on now.
HR 218 is a joke.
HR 218 is for if you basically want to cross lines with your.
That's all it's for. That's all it's for. And that's why I say it's a joke. It's a joke.
And
it's a joke. Well,
and I'll be honest with you. I don't even carry my. You know that I didn't renew this year. I did not.
No.
Me either. HR 218 is my first year not renewing. Also, no.
You didn't renew either.
Nope.
Why?
I didn't.
As much as it's a joke, I'm still renewing.
Because
you
can always take the course and re-up on it.
Yeah.
But this year I sat out because you know what? That's $100 of my money to live in a state that's unregulated.
Yeah, that's a problem, bro.
I'd rather, and that's why I was saying, AC, there's some states here. Your state too, right?
North Carolina.
Well,
we got some regulatory.
It's not a concealed carry open to everybody. You gotta have a concealed carry license.
Right.
You don't even need a license for concealed carry anymore.
Yeah,
in the state of Georgia.
Georgia's not a state.
I still have my license, but you don't need it.
So the reciprocity in North Carolina is so strong nationwide. The only states I would want to carry my weapon that I can't be New York and New Jersey. Most of the other states we can carry the guns. So I just make sure I attach myself to D school right next to him. So if I have a problem, I know D will say, Ty, here you go. I need your help. And we do this thing, right, D? We have to
Okay.
articulate it, right, D school?
That's right.
Again, regulation I think is necessary, whether you like it or not.
That's right.
And
Yeah.
I asked that question because I didn't think anyone on this panel would have any problem with regulating our weapons. Like I said, in New York, we have to have a good boy letter. Your spouse can't say anything that puts them in danger. There's a whole lot of regulations in New York that I really don't have a problem with. I really don't. And I'm a gun owner, but I'm just like, it's just safer that way. As far as I'm concerned. Missy, I have Cheech and Rich.
I had a question for the panel and more Jim, because we had an incident here recently. Wasn't a shooting, but could have been. It was a student that got assaulted, but another student opened up the doors. So the doors are secured, right? From the outside. Nobody can get in. But what happens is you have these students that will let others in. Now they let these 4 individual gang members in to come in specifically just to assault this kid. They got it on video and then they ran off. Should the kids that open up those doors or let in someone who's coming in to commit a crime be charged?
Well, I know in that kind of case just happened recently in New York here. I don't remember exactly where. I think it's on Long Island, where that very thing happened. And I think your question is criminally charged, is your question, correct?
Yes. Yes.
I have a little problem with that, to be honest with you, because something, again, in my career in school board work, kids letting other kids in is against school policy and they get suspended for that. They do it all
the time.
I mean, it's just, they do it. And a lot of times kids just do it. They don't even know who the heck they're letting in.
But I'm saying if they're letting someone in and they know
for that purpose.
Okay. So the kid that let him in knew, I'm letting you in to commit that crime.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm okay with that kid getting charged.
Facilitation.
Yes, facilitation. Yes.
Mm.
I thought you meant in general,
No, because it happens, like you said, it happens all the time.
Yeah, I'm okay with that. Yeah.
All right, Rich.
Yeah, I just want to piggyback on my initial comment. I mean, I made a comment about hardening the schools, hardening the target. It's easy to shoot it down, but it does work. You have the magnetometers at the airports that work all the time. The TSA works all the time. I'm not saying they get every single weapon, but they get 95% of the weapons off the aircraft. You could do the same things at the school. So this story about what happened with, Derek was able to go through with his gun at the magnetometer, some lazy, play event. I mean, that's different. I think the importance of protecting kids. You have the best magnetometers. You have the best people working them. You have security at the front door. You can harden these facilities, especially the smaller ones. So I just know that people are quick to shoot stuff down, but that does work. Hardening sites works. I was in intelligence. We hardened sites, okay? That worked. People weren't getting access. Things were controlled. So, I mean, to constantly shoot something down when you haven't seen it work, I don't understand that. If you have a school with only 40 students and you have a good mag, that means the kids aren't carrying them in. Now, these kids with guns already out running in, that's a different scenario. You're not going to be able to stop that anywhere. You can run into the airport, guns go blazing. I mean, so let's not make this a caricature. The thing, it does work. Hardening the schools does work. Stopping the access does work. Okay, so I just can't make that any clearer. And because I bring something up, it doesn't mean, well, let's find a way to dumb it down and shoot it down. That's just my opinion. I think it does.
Can I respond, Don?
Well, first, before you respond, Rich, that was not personal against you. It's what people have seen. Just like when Melba was making a statement earlier, I said, what Melba is saying is from experience. not from what she heard. The responses was from experience and not what we heard. Derek experienced that doing that. Jim experienced it during the schools. I experienced it during the school. Ty experienced it during the school. We're not killing the metal detectors. We're just saying they don't work. But before I go on, let me just finish because y'all jumped in there. I got Ty, Derek, and Jim just like that. Ty, Derek, and Jim just like that. Because I know you want to respond. Go ahead.
So, Donald, there were times there'll be three detectives, Donald, Tim, and myself, and about 4 security officers and 6, maybe 5 or 6 different metal detectors. And 7 out of 10 of the guns that came into the high school came in through the back door, the President Side Street door. The Peninsula Boulevard street side door, or the front door. Am I right, Donald? Most of the 7 out of 10, about 7 out of 10 of the guns that came into that school, somebody pushed the door up and let them in. Does that make sense, Donald?
It makes sense to me. And what Jim said is that it makes parents feel good if you have one there.
Yeah, that's what it is.
But if I want to get a gun in the school,
it's going to get in.
There will be a gun in the school somewhere.
Not a doubt. No doubt about it.
Jim and Derek.
Well, hold on a second.
You're on mute too, Jim. But hold up. Let Rich say what he got to say first, though.
Yeah, just gotta say one more thing and then I'm done. I just feel like, the TSA magnetometers work. You have a good magnetometer, it's gonna work. I've watched them work. I've seen people trying to get through it and stuff and they didn't get through. If it saves one kid's life, then it's worthwhile. Okay.
Oh yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
I know what I'm
It's an added piece of security that will make everybody feel a little bit better that something's being done. The door's just not wide open and you walk right in with your gun. Make it a little tougher. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying it's a cure-all. I'm just saying it works. It helps. Hardening these sites help. I've seen how they've reconstructed a lot of access to these schools where you just can't get in. You just can't walk in. A kid just can't let you in. It's very secure. They've got these new type of doors and fronts and the whole nine. It does work. So, nothing's a cure-all, but this could help save a few lives. That's all I'm saying. And it's easy to poo-poo something, but this is a rung of security. And if you have several rungs of security, you can help kids be safer in school. That's all I'm saying.
Jim, Derek, and Cheech.
Yeah, this is not about whether the metal detector works or doesn't work or anything like that. This is about school security. This is something I consider myself an expert on. Schools are not airports. They're not railroad stations.
Not even close.
Cheech said it before when he was talking about kids getting into a building. If you want to get a gun into a school, no magnetometer is going to stop you. That's all I meant by it. Not that they don't work. They're no good. It's a stupid idea. Nobody's attacking the idea. Anything that's target hardening to a school is a plus.
Yes.
That's why I also said I'm not against it. Anything to make it a little bit more difficult. Now the kid does have to go through the side door instead of the front door. Okay, I'm okay with that. I just want to make sure everybody understands that's not the solution to gun shootings at schools. That's all. That's my only point.
I thought that was clear enough, but Derek, Cheech, and Jerry.
Yeah, and they pretty much covered what I was going to cover, Rich. But and I agree, Rich. If you put the magnetometers in the school, it will reduce the number of guns that are coming into the school.
Yes,
it won't stop them. One of the last big school shootings, the guy actually came to school. He put his duffel bag by one of the side doors, and when he was ready to do the shooting, he opened the door. He got his duffel bag and brought it in. He didn't bring it in through the front door.
Exactly.
The scariest part of all of this, and I think Donald said this earlier, if a person is willing to die for their cause,
it don't matter.
There's really no way to stop them.
Nope.
Now, again, magnetometers will greatly reduce the number of guns coming into the school. It may even deter some people. They may say, well, I don't want to get caught trying to sneak in the side door with it. It'll deter some people. It's not going to stop it.
Right.
Hey, Rich, what about ghost guns?
Okay.
Yeah.
JT,
Well,
you gonna jump the line?
I'm 73 years old.
He said, heck yeah, I'm 70 years old.
Me and you jump any line.
Go ahead, JT. Go ahead. You got it. Go ahead.
Yeah, I just asked
See,
Richard if they stopped ghost guns.
no, the ghost guns will people get through. In most
Okay.
No,
cases.
they're metal in ghost guns. They're working in the same capacity.
Right. The ghost guns just
Yes
don't
or
have a
no?
serial number. That's all.
All right. Cheech and Jerry.
Yeah, Derek said what I was going to say is definitely a deterrent, but I don't know how it is in other schools. I'm just going to bring up our school system as an example. First, they had put in metal detectors for a little bit. They actually asked parents to come in and assist to try to get the kids in quicker to school. So that didn't work out, so they stopped doing it. So they don't do it anymore. Now they have doorbells. You ring the doorbell, they ask you what you're doing. I'm coming to pick up my kid, whatever, and they just buzz you in, and you walk right into the school. Now, a problem I have with that is how many times, and I've been one myself, but it's usually been students, where I'm walking in at the same time, or there are students walking in at the same time as I am, and they just hold the door for you. So really anybody can walk in, or you wait for somebody that's going in legitimately and walk in right behind them. So like everybody says it, if somebody wants to do something, they're going to,
I
but
think
we
I
have to control the
think
guns.
And Cheech, I just want to interject that every child that participates in a school shooting has been taught on their procedures for
Yeah,
their
how to
school,
avoid it. Yeah.
so they know how to get around it.
Of course they do.
Recording in progress.
Yes, Derek is moving around. He's switching
Yeah.
stuff.
Doggone.
Don't be doggone and turn the camera on.
There you go.
But all right. I don't think anyone was shooting down. This is what I think the thought was, Rich. I think you took it the wrong way. No one was shooting down the metal detectors. What I heard Jim say was that please don't put your hope in them. I think that's what I heard. I think that's what I heard him saying. Like, don't put your hope in there because they don't work.
No, I didn't say put your hope in it. I just said it's another rung of security. That's
he wasn't even talking to you. He was talking to the people that are listening to us. Don't put your hope in there. As law enforcement officers, we all have our experiences. You have yours, and no one can take your experiences away. And I don't think no one tried to. But there's people listening to us that will hear you say, or hear someone say, well, put metal detectors there, and they think that that's the cure-all. Jim was just saying that will help, but do not put your hope in that metal detector because guns will get in that building or that facility, regardless of what they have sitting out there. Even police officers.
Right, but Rev, you and Derek did make the comment about the play and the magnetometer and going through and coming back out and going through with the gun, and I got that it wasn't detected. I understand it was something faulty. Somebody wasn't operating it properly at the theater, that he was able to go back and forth with his gun. I got that, but you're not going back and forth at the quality magnetometers that they have at the airport. That's the only reason I brought up the airport. I know school's not the airport. I'm not simplifying it. I'm just saying if you have good equipment and you have good people operating, you can save some lives. That's all. It's not an end all be all.
And our point wasn't the location. Our point was that the metal detectors didn't work. Forget the location. That was my point. That's why I even brought up was that, listen, it deterred me from bringing mine because I knew they were there.
Right.
So for me, it was like, I ain't taking mine because I don't feel like going through that. I wasn't even going to try to get by it. I was like, no, I'm not taking mine. So it deterred me.
Yeah,
Derek was at a hotel, so he had his. And so it was a different story. So if he had known that, he probably would have bought his either. Because you have a metal detector there. But the point was not really the location. The point was that put a metal detector where you want to put it, people going to get through there with weapons. That's all. And not for you because you know law enforcement. But there's people that's going to be listening that's going to be like, oh, metal detector's good, so I can go in here and I'm safe. Like people that went to this show, probably felt there was no one in that place with a gun.
Well, guess what?
And you know what? And Don, I've even had the experience, and I'm gonna tell you, going into Madison Square Garden, where I was like, listen, I have my weapon on me. They're like, we're not looking for that. We're looking for camera recording equipment.
Right.
Oh, Lord.
Me too, Melba.
And people have made it on the aircraft with their weapons before.
Oh, yeah.
With the magnetometers at the airport.
That's true.
But in most cases, they get caught. They get caught.
Yeah.
I've seen them. I've taken people
exception.
into custody, been caught weapons.
They're
I've seen how they try to hide them. They don't get through. Sometimes it happens. I'm not saying it.
It's safe at the airport. It's
safe at the airport.
Oh, yeah.
Safe at the airport. But I've taken people into custody that have weapons at the checkpoint. Okay, on a regular basis. They get caught. They get detected in their bags, at the mags, the whole nine. So you know what? I just said an extra rung of security doesn't hurt. If you have a magnetometer that works, you have quality people that are standing by working the security of the school, it can work and save a few lives. That's all I'm saying. Okay, I didn't say it was the answer. Ban assault rifles. Hey, that'll help. There's a lot of things we can do that we're not doing. So this is something I said can be done without legislation. That's all, and it's for whatever it's worth. And then the last thing I want to say is the breaking news just came out that in Georgia, that Fannie Willis is disqualified from prosecuting Donald Trump.
Oh, Lord.
So the appeals court in Georgia just determined that she's disqualified.
Oh.
Trump and the rest of the idiots.
So now you're throwing a dagger in a sore wound. Go ahead, Rich. Come on.
The fuckery continues.
Let me go with Jerry and JT.
You ain't seen nothing yet.
Where did Jerry go? Where's Jerry? Jerry, get back over here. Go ahead, JT. We'll come back to Jerry.
Yeah, I mean, what Rich saying is good. What Jim's saying is good. Donald. But all that's going to do is push the shootings outside. You want to shoot Billy? Wait till Billy come out to get on his bicycle. You want to shoot Billy and John? Shoot both of them outside. Ain't going to be no people trying to get guns in school when they find out they can't. It's easier to shoot them outside anyway. Unless you just going for a group of people, but there's a group of people outside. If you got a tended person you want to shoot, he gonna get shot.
Especially if it's what, like Jim said, that most of those persons who do those things are already suicidal. So they don't really care about getting shot. They're like, listen, I'm going to do what I have to do, and I'm going to die, even if I have to do it myself.
I mean, these kids ain't stupid. I mean, they stupid, but they ain't that stupid.
But this is why we push the sensible gun laws, because you're right. If a shooting is going to happen, it's going to happen. But
the only people that's going to follow the gun laws are people like you and me. Hakeem ain't gonna follow that motherfucker. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut.
No, JT, you're right though. You're right, because what did I just say earlier? When I was going there and I knew there was the metal detectors there, I left mine at home. I was like, man, I'm not going through all of that. Jim, how many times did we go into the Beacon Theater and we were like, listen, leave these guns home because they're checking right there. I mean, they're really checking. So it's like, I'm not bringing mine and have to deal with explaining and going to the precinct and putting in a lock at a precinct. I'm just not going. I'll leave it home. So AC.
Yeah, I see people asking, or I hear us asking, what does gun regulation? What would that do for this? It's not for the illegal people. It's for the legal people.
Right.
All the illegal guns start off as legal guns.
Right.
That are manufactured. Go to something different. They all start off as legal guns. If you can regulate them better, there'll be less going out there to the illegal people.
Yeah.
Being stolen or misused by children or stuff like that. That's the purpose of having some kind of regulation.
And you got to start somewhere. That's where you start.
Hold up, guys. Jim, Cheech, and Todd.
Yeah, just so it's very clear to everybody that's listening, we're not talking about shootings in general. We're not talking about gangbang shootings. We're talking about school shootings. We're talking about mass shootings, and they're used by legally owned guns. These aren't the illegal guns gangbangers are shooting. We're not talking about that. That's a problem, but it's a different kind of problem. Gun control for illegal guns that are being used by people that should not have them as legal guns. Do you understand where I'm coming from with that? That there are some people that have guns legally because of very lax gun control, like in Georgia. They shouldn't have guns legally. There should be a mechanism in place that makes sure they don't get guns.
Right.
And people that they get guns from, like their parents, should be held accountable for not securing them. So it's a whole different concept.
You're saying the gun owner is legal, but the gun
owner has a legal gun. In almost every case of a school shooting, that gun was legally registered, and in many cases, the kid that had it, it was legally okay to have it. In fact, one case, the mother trained them on it.
Exactly.
So that's the issue, not shootings in general. That's another major problem, but a different problem.
Just Cheech and then Ty.
Go ahead, Cheech.
Yeah, Jim took the words right out of my mouth, and I'll take it one step further. JT, what happens is, and I'm going by the state I live in, is I can buy a weapon legally and then turn around and sell it to whoever I want, and there is no longer a record of it.
That's right.
I don't have to show any receipt. I don't have to show proof who I sold it to. And that's where the gun now turns up in the hands of someone that should not have that gun.
No backgrounds, no regulatory, just
nothing.
Cash sale.
And that's what I have a problem. That's what I have a problem with.
And here I'm gonna piggyback off that and say this. This is how I think about it. Every illegal gun, every gun that's illegal in this country started off as a legal weapon. So let's regulate the legal weapons up the yin-yang in the hope that the trickle-down effect will be that less illegal guns will be made. Does that make sense, Jim? Am I saying that right, Jim? Let's regulate what we can regulate. And because every gun in this country that's illegal was at one time legal. It was a legal weapon with a serial number, the whole 9 yards, and then it became illegal for whatever reason. So that's where my regulatory concept is. Control we can control with the hopes that it'll slow down the fold. Thank you.
All right. I'm looking at David Van Cleef says sensible gun laws will never come to pass in red states. And I did reply to it by saying, you're absolutely, so true. That's why you need federal gun laws. So if you have federal gun laws, then the states, they don't have an option. You know, when you leave the option up to the states, and every state will do what they want to do. But if you do it federally, it's the law of the land. But there's so many answers for this stuff. I mean, I'm sorry, I got tired. I just got you, though, didn't I?
I got no hope, man. I have very little hope, man. It's sad. We've been trying this for 100 years. How many years have we been trying to get gun regulation, Jim? 75 years, maybe 50 years? I mean, here we are singing the same exact tune we were singing years ago. I mean, I don't know.
You just got to keep singing it, though.
You can't stop singing it. Yeah, you got to keep singing it. It's just sad.
Yeah, well, you don't give up on it.
No, you can't give up. No.
And metal detectors are definitely a plus.
Heck yeah.
Without anybody going back and forth, it's a plus. You know why it's a plus? Because it's a deterrent for one.
For somebody.
Somebody's gun gonna get up in there, but you're gonna deter a whole lot of guns.
If you stop one, I'm happy.
Yeah, so it's a deterrent for sure. So it's just something that this nation's gonna have to come to grips with, and we're gonna have to do something about it. Richard Belden said earlier, he said, what's going to happen with gun control is you will have to register your weapon like your vehicle. You'll even be required to have your weapons insured. That's another regulation.
That's a good idea. I think that's a good idea.
Sounds good. It's going to cost us a little bit of money.
A whole lot of money.
and I don't have a problem with it.
Nah, man.
Well, that's why I said earlier, most people who carry who legally carry a weapon don't mind some of the regulations. It's gonna. I mean, how many times have you paid extra just to have your child get what they need or whatever? I mean, many of us live in our homes where you got the insurance, car insurance, and all of that stuff. Just to make sure they're taken care of. It's an inconvenience, but guess what? You're trying to protect the ones that you love. We went on with. Oh, Jerry's back. Jerry, you still have a statement? You have a question?
No, I'm good.
You're good?
Thank you.
Okay, I wanted to hear what your thought was, though. I forgot what we were talking about at the time too. But all right. Anybody else with anything? Stop laughing so hard, Cheryl.
You only said a word all day.
Well, real quick, we had another one on there. We only did the one. We had another one on there about the Brady list. And maybe Dee can tell us a little bit about that, and we can talk about that before we go home.
All right, just yeah, I won't play the video because it's about 2.5 minutes. There's a list and this last one was a Richmond PD officer put on a Brady list. If you guys remember, a couple of years ago, they talked about this when we were talking about police accountability. A list where if you're caught lying, you're caught doing anything that you shouldn't be doing. They're actually developing a list. It's a legal list that now when the DA's office. Kyle is dealing with these officers, they look on that list, and if you're on that officer, they may not deal with you. So there was a Richmond officer that was just put on this list because he got caught lying to the public about an incident that happened. And we got about 8 minutes. I could play the video, but if you guys just want to talk about it, we thought that might be a good subject for us to talk about.
Play the video.
It's a 2-minute video. Go ahead and play it.
Well, 2 minutes. A lot of cooks in this kitchen.
Well, a Richmond police officer's name is now on a list of no officers really want to be on. It's called the Brady list. An officer can watch this time about brutal murder. Fox 9's Eric Graves covered this story when it first happened, and he was in Richmond today trying to talk with police about what exactly took place.
The Wayne County prosecutor says the assistant chief here at the Richmond Police Department lied to the public when he said 2 murder victims were not Richmond confidential informants. The Richmond Police Department, though, says they fundamentally disagree with that decision. Richmond Assistant Police Chief and Public Information Officer Adam Blanton is now on the Brady list. Indiana University law professor Jody Madeira says it's not something officers want to be on.
And the officers on the list are individuals whose credibility
Johnson and Christine Dixon were murdered and found in a Fort Wayne river in September. This man, Dominique Washington, was arrested for the killings. Court docs filed by the Fort Wayne Police Department backing up Washington's arrest said Johnson and Dixon were confidential informants for Richmond police. But Assistant Chief Blanton and the Richmond police denied that on social media and through an email sent to Fox 59 and CBS 4 News. To Blanton and the Richmond police chief in October says Dixon and Matthew were in fact informants on the case. Shipman reveals he also authorized Dixon to purchase drugs as a confidential informant. The letter informed Blanton he was now on the county's Brady list.
Once you are on it, you are pretty much stuck on it unless you can disprove the list.
We went to the Richmond Police Department Thursday morning. Inside, the chief told me he had no further comment past this statement, in part saying they fundamentally disagree with the prosecutor and his erroneous characterization of the options to remedy the matter. Madeira says this is typical for officers put on.
Professional organizations have said this is not fair. We don't get due process before we are named to the list.
The Brady list letter included about the prosecutor's office failing to file charges against a YouTube prankster who duct taped himself to a telephone pole. We reached out to Prosecutor Shipman for an interview. As for Dominique Washington, he's due for a jury trial in March for the murders of Christine Dixon and Matthew Johnson. Reporting in Richmond, Eric Graves, Fox 59.
Funny. I see Jim and AC. They said they didn't get due process to get their name on that list. That's a whole nother story. Go ahead, Jim and AC.
From what I understand, and I think that Mark and Kyle would be experts in this Brady list stuff. But from what I understand, that the district attorney's office are the sole they're sole people to put cops on that list for whatever information they may gather. So from the tape where they said they didn't have due process, I believe that's a fact. I don't think there is a due process. I think the DA's office puts you on the list, you're on it. Now, it's my understanding that that doesn't preclude you from making an arrest and testifying. It's just that the DA's office is saying, we're not going to use this individual because it's going to be too difficult. You know, they're going to be tagged a liar. It's going to be difficult to prosecute the case. So that's the reason that officer is on there. But, you know, and this would go to Mark. Is there anything within the department itself to have an officer or the department itself fight the DA's office to get somebody off that list or not put on it in the first place?
Not that I know of it, you know, basically they pretty much said you'd have to have a clear case to come off and fight it, but it'd be very difficult. It's an uphill battle. I don't know if Kyle has more information than I do.
It's a credibility issue. So if the DA's office has determined that an officer is not credible, I mean, there really isn't much, anyone can do about it. As Mark said, unless there was some compelling evidence to refute that finding or that the officer or determination that the officer is not credible. But it's damaging and devastating for the officer and for any prosecution to have an officer who is, subject to, this type of scrutiny to be any part of the case in any way. You're just burying yourself with that baggage. If you can get around him or her, that would be the move to make. And the fact that the officer is part of the investigation, it does lessen the blow because the officer is never going to take the stand, but it's still there, for a defense counsel to attempt to exploit.
In this case, Kyle, which is an interesting case, it's a murder case. Now you have the arresting officer is on that list. How would the DA's office handle that? They're not going to let a murderer walk free, right?
No, but hopefully they have other evidence. It's not hinging on this particular person. If he is, in fact, a CI, there's records of him being a confidential informant. There's other folks that are aware of it that I don't know if he was the handler or not, but hopefully there's other things that, and the murder is not about the confidential informant's work, was it? Or is it separate and apart from the work that the person was doing as a confidential informant? I'm not sure about that. If one thing really had nothing to do with the other, that the murder case would stand on its own, whatever that evidence is. The fact that this chief tried to protect this man because he is a confidential informant, I'm not sure, why they would do that. It's going to come out the prosecution has to reveal that information. Even if the confidential informant's work had nothing to do with the murder, they still have to reveal it. That's how you separate it and say, yes, he was an informant, but this had nothing to do with the work that he was doing with the police department. If it in fact does have something to do with it, it's still got to come out. So they have an obligation. They can't get away from disclosing that information. So it was not a smart move of the officer or the chief to try to protect the confidential informant in that way. The motivation is murky to me.
All right, real quick, we got AC and AC and JT.
Okay. Keep it quick. First of all, it's amazing that you got enough people to make a list. Yeah, it's not the Brady couple of names, it's the Brady list. And to have that many people who are in that situation is amazing. Secondly, I'm just curious, can that list be used by other departments trying to hire people from there? Is that list available to them? Anybody know anything about that?
It's a public record if they could get their hands on it, if they come to know about it. Because it's they put it out there. I mean, the prosecutors put it out there. So if it's out there, it's out. If defense counsels have it, it's everywhere, right? It's a matter if they're looking for it.
All right, JT, and when you closing us out, JT, close us out in style.
All right. When I was working with Hempstead, we had confidential informants, but they had to sign a paper saying that they are confidential informants. But now we had also informants who wasn't confidential, who nobody knew about. We'd go have them make a drug buy, but they're not a confidential informant. They just a clique that want to make some money. We give him $20 to go make a buy and stuff. He'll go in the warrant that CI such and such made by. But I don't know if this confidential informant in this case was signed up to be a confidential informant, or was he just paying off a debt with the cops? You know, they give him $20, $30 for whatever information he can give, and that's it. So I don't know how they even got this guy on that list. I don't see any evidence, you know, that he lied. I mean, he said he's a confidential informant. Show me the paperwork.
Well, somebody said something that the district attorney's office found out about it. So someone disclosed that he was, in fact, maybe he was saying, right, or through his attorney, that I'm a cop, I work with the cops. I work for the cops. What information did he have that to support that? Maybe sounds like it was compelling enough for them to believe it.
Yeah. Okay.
So somebody said something because the prosecution didn't pull it out of thin air.
You got that right. And Hempstead had a couple of police officers that were not allowed to testify down at the ADA's office either, or the district attorney's office either. And so it should have been a Brady list then.
But
and as a matter of fact, that's true. And there were some judges who would disbelieve, you put your case on, you're doing your hearings or whatever,
Yep.
and that they would take the testimony. The prosecution doesn't know, but the judge might have a bone to pick with a particular officer based on something that they've seen in a prior case or common knowledge of certain officers and detectives, and so they ruled accordingly.
You got that right. I mean, and that's a fact. That's not something that we just pulled out the air. That's a fact.
Right.
So I'm not against it, but and I don't know how you give them that list, and I don't know what the proper procedure is. But if they come up with their own list to determine that you're a liar or you're backdooring, then I don't have a problem with that. Because there's some people that deserve to be on that list, but they ain't make it yet. And I ain't gonna, of course, I ain't gonna call out any names or anything like that. But listen, thank you guys so much. For those who are listening to us, I read the disclaimer earlier. This is, you heard what we had to say. Don't take what we say as law, because this is not that. It's understand what your laws are, where you live. Please do, and do not take what we say as law. All right. Anyone have anything else before we shut it down? Do you have anything else?
Amazon is on strike, so if you didn't get your stuff by now, they just went on strike. So good luck.
Lord. Nah, you
it's like 5 or 6 different places. So, but you know what happens with the supply chain, right?
We have to rely on the postal service now.
Oh no, we can't do that, Kyle. We can't do that.
Not until it's privatized, which will happen soon enough.
If it's only a few different places, usually what happens with them is they have their centers where everything is stored, and when people place orders, the stuff comes from there, not from getting shipped to them, because they already have it. So if you're not in one of the affected areas, it shouldn't matter.
A lot of independent and subcontractors there too, right?
Yeah.
Well, listen, Derek's talking from experience, y'all.
Derek knows.
He's talking from experience because he's been involved.
Yeah.
So I thank God thank you all for your participation. Great conversation. CJ finally got a camera on, so we're good. We got a chance to see CJ today, so and Melba has
Love
on
you
her,
too, Donald.
and CJ, Melba has on her ugly sweater. Show us your sweater, Melba.
Ain't that ugly.
It looks like it's off the rack.
But no, on a real note,
Oh,
Merry
yes.
Christmas. Merry Christmas to you and your families. Enjoy the time. We will not be on next week. We'll be back on January the 2nd, after New Year. So I'm saying Merry Christmas and Happy New Year to those who listen to us on Facebook Live. I'm also saying happy birthday to Sharon Stevenson, Jamel's wife, and also happy birthday to Mike Matthews, Mark's brother, whose birthday is today as well. So and then just guys, please enjoy your family. And you're saying it from someone that's going through some stuff right now, but enjoy your family. Spend time
Yes.
with family, love on your family. Let them know that you love them. All right. So I thank God for my family. Thank God for my wife and my children, my grandchildren. And I thank God that He allowed us to be a parent of our son for almost 30 years. So I thank Him for it. So I say that today.
Yes.
I thank Him for giving us the privilege to do that. All right. If that's it, we're gonna go ahead and close out. All right.
All right.
Let us pray. God, our Father, we thank you for allowing us to come together. We thank you for every person that's here. Pray to God you will watch over our families and friends. And as we celebrate this holiday season, we want to remember that Jesus died. He was a perfect gift to the world. We thank you for His present and His presence. And we pray now that God, you will bless our families and keep us together. Keep us from all hurt, harm, and danger. And then those who are with us on Facebook Live each and every week, we're praying for them and their families as well. We thank you now. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
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 Amen.